Now that you're finished with the household hazardous products and their symbols, we're going to talk about compounds that you might find in the laboratory or in the workplace, and these are covered under WHMIS 2015 GHS. Now, if you have the sheet, if you can print off the sheet, you can use that. If you don't have the sheet or you can't print it off, just make sure you make notes about all these things. And look at the chart so you can kind of see how you can set it up so that it stays nice and organized. Alrighty, so introduction to this thing. So just so you know, and you're going to do lots and lots of WHMIS in your life, it was made because every worker has the right to know what the safety hazards are, either at school or when you're on the job. So they make you do the WHMIS training at the beginning of your jobs, in a lot of jobs, and it's because it's important for you to know what your rights are and what the employer's rights are, and how everyone wants to keep everybody else safe. Because in the olden days, there was a lot of workers that died on the job, so we want to make sure things are as safe as possible now for people on the job. Okay, so every person has the right to know about safety hazards at school and on the job. So before 2015, Canada had a countrywide system of hazard rules that protected the workers and their health and safety. So what happened was they aligned with the United Nations globally harmonized system. So now it's basically labeled as being WHMIS 2015 GHS. And the GHS system is a system of labeling that works worldwide. So no matter where you go, you'll see the labels, you'll know what kind of hazards you're working with. All right? And the other nice thing was when they amalgamated the WHMIS with the GHS, is the information became much more detailed and much more consistent. So now we do WHMIS 2015 GHS, or GHS WHMIS 2015, however you want to say it. So the WHMIS part stands for Workplace Hazardous Materials Information System. Rather than saying that all the time, we just say WHMIS. And the globally harmonized system, which is the GHS, I don't have this written there, but you can write in GHS. It is an international approach to chemical labels and safety data sheets. So everybody in the whole entire wide world will know exactly the same thing. Alrighty, so if you ever look at products up close, you're going to see that they have a special type of label, and the label always has the same type of information on it. All right, so the label is going to look like this. There should be the name on it all the time. That's number one. There should be a signal word, so either danger or warning. Danger means the chemical is a little bit more extreme compared to something like the warning. Number three, it should tell you the nature of the substance, so about some of its physical and chemical properties. Number four should give you some precautionary things you should do to prevent having an accident with it. And then if you do have an accident, it should tell you some of the first aid and medical care that you can get. Now 5 on this label here gives you some information about the manufacturer, so who has made the product, so that way if there's a faulty product or a product that's not up to code, they know exactly which company made it. And then number 6 gives you the pictograms, which are the little, the pictures to tell you about the hazards of the substance. Alrighty, so the pictograms. So the pictograms are basically a symbol inside with a red diamond border. Okay, so it's going to tell you what hazards are contained in that container. So it gives you the information about the hazards of a chemical, and there's 9 pictograms in total in the globally harmonized system. Okay, so the first one, and everyone's seen this, and you'll see this on the household products as well, this is called the skull and crossbones. That's literally what its pictogram name is, skull and crossbones. And this tells you that the product has an acute toxicity. It can be fatal, so it can kill you, or it's very seriously toxic. It can cause you a lot of problems for a long time. And this would be something like, I don't know, arsenic, right, which is going to poison you and potentially kill you. The next symbol is this health hazard. All right, so this is showing you a guy with his insides or a person with all their insides kind of demolishing. Alrighty, so this is going to be something that can cause serious health effects like cancer. So in the olden days, we used a lot more toxic chemicals in the lab, like there would be benzene to clean out glassware. We used formaldehyde to preserve specimens. We don't use formaldehyde anymore. We use something that's a lot safer because formaldehyde can be cancer causing. The next one is another one that's pretty familiar to people. This is called the corrosion pictogram. And it shows you a steel bar that's being dissolved, and it's showing you a hand, which is flesh, which is being dissolved. So this is showing you that it's corrosive, and it can damage metal, it can damage skin, and it can damage your eye. So obviously you're going to be wearing safety glasses when you're wearing something like this or using something like this. And this would be something like hydrochloric acid. Right. There's lots of other chemicals as well, but hydrochloric acid is something you probably have heard about. Now the next one is called exclamation mark because it looks like an exclamation mark, right? And this type of product can cause less serious health effects compared to the guy whose insides were all dissolving, right? So this may cause something like a skin irritation, okay? Or what they've also lumped in here is this may damage the ozone layer. So something like sulfur. Sulfur, a lot of people are allergic to sulfur. A lot of people, if sulfur gets burned, can cause respiratory distress, and it also can end up causing problems with air pollution. All right, this one here looks pretty similar to the GHS. This is called flame, which tells you that something is flammable, so it goes on fire very, very easily. So this can be anything. It can be a gas, like not gasoline, it can be a gas, all right, the state of a gas. They can be liquids, they can be solids, all right? So for example, gasoline, right? But you've heard of where gasoline as a liquid can go on fire, but also when it vaporizes, it also can go on fire. Our next one here, now this one and the other flame one can get confused because they sort of look similar, but this one here, you'll notice there's a little O at the bottom of the flames. So this one is called flame over circle because it's a flame over a little circle shape there. And this thing is called an oxidizer, which is why it's got that little circle O there. It's an oxidizer. And what an oxidizer does is it supplies oxygen to something that is already burning. So this is a problem because if you have something that's burning, you don't want to keep adding more oxygen into the flame to cause even more fire. Okay, so this causes other substances to burn by adding lots of oxygen to them. Right? So something like hydrogen peroxide. Right? The next one we have here, which is going to be similar to your household hazardous products, is the gas cylinder. Right? And this is warning you that you've got gases under pressure. So for any of you who barbecue or know people who are taking oxygen, supplemental oxygen, you know they've got the tanks and they've got the sign that says gases under pressure. So this would be something like your propane tank for your barbecue. Okay, or you'll see the trucks that are transporting oxygen and things around town, and they've got the gas cylinder warning sign on it. Now the next one, all right, kind of looks like one of those little bombs that explode, and it is called exploding bomb. And you can see the examples already up here, so TNT. So these items are unstable explosives. They are highly reactive, so they're the kind of things you have to treat with great care because they can explode. And usually if you have something that's explosive like that, right, an expert's going to be using those. Okay, so the next one here is our environment one. This is showing you like a fish upside down in a dead tree. This means that it can cause damage to the aquatic environment. So for example, something like pesticides. Now in Canada, we don't include this as part of WHMIS 2015, but you will see it on some containers. But it's just so that you know, if you go to another country in Europe and then you see this on the containers, you know that this is something that could be a problem for aquatic environments, right? But it's not part of WHMIS 2015. And then our last symbol that Canada uses, which is not part of the GHS system, so we still use this symbol, this biohazardous symbol. And the symbols before 2015 were these little circle symbols, so this is how you'll know this one is a little bit different from the GHS. So this has got a black circle around it, so this means biohazardous infectious material. And these are organisms or toxins that can cause disease in people or animals. So you'll see labels with this kind of thing on it if the content is biohazardous. So organisms or toxins that can cause disease in people or animals. So you'll see signs like this on blood labs because blood labs may contain organisms or toxins or something that can cause other people to become ill. So like I said, this is not part of GHS, but Canada still uses this symbol. Alrighty, so lastly, there's a couple little things just to finish up here. We talked a little bit earlier about signal words. So signal words are things like the danger and the warning. There's two signal words, danger, warning. Danger is a lot more dangerous than something that's given a warning. So those are the two signal words. And so danger is more severe and warning is less severe. And finally, especially in our lab, we've got a lot of containers of chemicals that we bought before 2015 or before the new labeling system came in. So you'll see old work symbols on a lot of containers from the olden days. Alrighty, so just so you're aware that there are some old ones too. But just make sure if you're ever working with something that has the old symbols on it, that you do know what those old symbols mean as well. Sometimes in those courses, they'll go over what the old symbols mean. They're very similar, but just make sure that if you ever see the old symbols on a container, you know what they mean. All labs are supposed to have the new safety data labels on them, but you may end up, looking in the back of a cupboard somewhere and finding something that hasn't been used in a while and it's got the old symbols on. So just make sure you use them safely. Okay, so it's important that you work, that if you work with chemicals that are labeled in this way, you're familiar with what those symbols mean. Alrighty, so that's that for this lesson. There's a worksheet to go with this as well, so make sure you complete that and put it into the Dropbox before the due date. Talk again.